All right, we are here with Kevin Buchanan coming fresh off the PLL Championship Series Championship game and his retirement. Bucky, welcome to the Trilogy Lacrosse Theater 2020.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me.
I'm a little disappointed we couldn't time it up, so we got you for episode 27, but we got you.
I love it. I know.
29 here. Where are you logging in from? Because this has got to be the quietest the Buchanan household ever is right now.
The quietest. I actually just put the boys down for bed. We usually go down between 8 and 9. We're a little early tonight because we know I had this. But I'm logging in from home, just at the kitchen counter.
Do you guys go bobsled team, 3 boys in 1 tub for?
Yeah, we pile it in. They just love it. But anything you could possibly imagine is in the bathtub. We got flippers, snorkels, boogie boards. You name it, it's in there.
Boogie boards?
Oh, you name it. Yeah, we try to surf in the bathtub. Everything is in there. It's ridiculous. They think it's the friggin' Great Barrier Reef.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We got
classic.
So 3 boys. You got any other Buchanan's plans here for the future?
No, Friday.
Coming out with a hard-hitting question right off the bat.
Yeah, the 3 boys is it. So we got my Hovey's my oldest at 5, Merrick's 3, and then Bobo baby Bowen is 1. So I played a lot of lacrosse since I've gotten home because they were just so juiced to watch all the games on TV for the last 3 weeks. So they were just building up all that energy to want to play for every single day.
When they watch you, are they like sitting still, like cheering for dad, or are they like just like chaos running around? Like,
of course, once they look at the TV and they see playing lacrosse, immediately go get their sticks. Then they're kind of watching, seeing what's going on, but then they want to play. You know how it goes. They're not really watching, paying overly crazy attention. Jen's kind of keeping them on track.
Bowden's got a birthday coming November 9th, if I do recall correctly.
My middle child, Merrick, yes. 11-9. And Merrick will be 4.
Yeah, we got the same birthday, November 9th. Great day.
That's crazy. Wow, that's nuts. Yeah, all in all, pretty cool though.
All right, well, I told you what we were going to cover, and you got most excited about, of all the things, you got most excited about talking about Calvert Hall. So let's rewind it to the original Kevin Buchanan years at Calvert Hall. Your parents, they are from, actually, your mom's 100% from Baltimore. She is the most
for sure
accent of all time.
For sure.
Yeah, so how did you
get Calvert Hall? Yeah, so I ended up at Calvert Hall. My dad went to Calvert Hall. So my dad went to Calvert Hall. My cousins went to Calvert Hall. My brother went to Calvert Hall, who was 2 years older than me. So it was pretty much a shoo-in. I wasn't going to go anywhere else except Calvert Hall. Yeah, so I ended up, in 2000? I ended up going into Calvert Hall as a freshman. Yeah,
and your dad was a lacrosse player there too?
My dad was a lacrosse player there. Yep, my dad played lacrosse at UMBC back in the day. I don't think when he played there, they were D2. They were D2. They hadn't been D1 yet. But yeah, so he played there.
What middle school did you go to?
I went to Cockeysville Middle.
Cockeysville, yeah.
Yeah. So I would have pushed into Delaney, but just with the path, I was going to Calvert Hall.
Yeah.
You and I could have faced off in some state championships if you had been at Delaney. I probably played with against some of your neighbors then.
Yeah, for sure. You where'd you go? Severna Park?
Severna Park, yeah. 02 and 03 we matched up with Delaney. Delaney took it both times in the state championship.
Ooh.
Zach Jungers, Princeton guy. He was
Zach Jungers.
Hacksaw Zach Jungers.
Yeah.
That was my nickname.
No one else called him that.
No one else called it that. Remember Hacksaw Jim Duggan?
My aunt dated him.
Stop it.
Yep. That's a whole nother podcast.
Bucky, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, that professional wrestler would carry the 2x4 and would like give you like the big thumbs up and like the USA chants. Come on, you remember Hacksaw Jim Duggan?
No idea who that is, but I will look him up.
It's before my time. I only know because my aunt.
But Zach Jungers is a thick dude.
Right.
So I can picture him. I can picture this guy pretty good. Yeah.
Anyway, keep going. We're talking about Severna. Some of your retirement.
Yeah. How do we get Veer on Severna Park?
The Falcons worked in somehow.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, so Cabot Hall. Yeah, so I ended up at Cabot Hall. So I when I played young, I actually played on the freshman lacrosse team at Cabot Hall. So I played fresh soft, and I was fortunate. I got coached by Michael Thomas. Do you know Michael Thomas? Yeah, legend. So he actually coached the varsity at Cabot Hall for the longest time, and then he coached it for, again, so many years. And I think he finally was like, I'm going to step away from the game. And Brian Kelly was adamant about him, a couple years later coming back and hopefully helping out with some of the younger teams. And so I happened to end up with Coach Michael Thomas that year, my freshman year. And it was an awesome experience. He knows the game so well. I actually played with Jeff Reynolds, was on that team as well. So freshman lacrosse too, pretty crazy. So how about that, eh?
And you were a hockey guy too, right? You played Baltimore Stars growing up.
I did play Baltimore Stars. I didn't play at Calvert Hall or in high school, but yeah, my dad was a big hockey player. My brother played hockey. He played Baltimore Stars too. When my brother and I played on the same team, and then basically kind of when it split and I couldn't play up with him, my dad was kind of like, okay, you're not playing. So, hockey was crazy. 3 rinks in the Baltimore area. You had to be up at like 4:00 in the morning. My dad was like, none of that anymore. So he just stayed with my brother, playing with that. But yeah, so that's kind of, so I got coached by Michael Thomas, who was a legend. And yeah, we had a solid year that year. We were actually really good. I think we went to the MI championship for the fresh soft, and I just learned a ton from him.
And were you, with your dad having played college lacrosse, were you always like, was that like always something in your mind? Like, oh, I'll probably go on and play college lacrosse, or was it not really a goal of yours? Or
not necessarily. I think I don't know how. I don't know if I would consider myself like a good planner, if you would believe that or not. I don't look too far in the future, especially not at 13 or 14 years old. So yeah,
reasonable.
Reasonable thing to say based on you guys knowing me. So yeah, I don't think I necessarily, at that point I wasn't necessarily focused on plan. I just was focused on that particular season and having a good time and having fun and developing my skill as best I could. Obviously I was very dedicated to the game. I enjoyed it a lot. I had a lot of passion around it. But yeah, at that point, through freshman and even through sophomore year, where, after my first soft, I did jump up to varsity, and I did ride the bench all my sophomore year on varsity. I was basically the scout team. But it was probably one of the best things for me. And Brian Kelly made that call because my dad was kind of like, maybe it was the better opportunity for you just to simply play JV and get maybe get more game experience and exposure that way. But BK was pretty adamant about me staying up, as he just wanted me to practice, obviously, with the older guys, and kind of just be able to mold into that space and keep pace with those guys. So majority of my time was spent being scout team. And so the number 1D, and I can still remember the guys that just straight up just beat on me the whole practice. And those are the things that, you during those times started to make me feel and kind of step back and like, what do I need to do so that I don't get beat on all the time? You know what I mean? And that kind of pushed me to like cutting quicker, cutting harder, constantly always moving. Otherwise, like my arms would just be seriously, black and blue because they would just swing away. And just as they know, I'm, sophomore, their guys are 18 years old. So
where did you turn to figure out how to like cut the right way and how to become a better player? Did you go to camps? Did you talk to your dad? Like, because YouTube wasn't a thing when we were in high school.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you figure it out?
Yeah. So, I was blessed, obviously, to have my dad, and my dad was big, and he coached me all the way up, basically all the way up until Calvert Hall, until I went to Calvert Hall. And then he was there still even mentoring me after all my games. But yeah, absolutely, Mitch and RB. I mean, it was, the All-American camp at Western Maryland, the Maryland camp down at University of Maryland, Bob Scott camp at Towson University. That's where you learn. That's where you came and learned from guys like college guys that were playing in the college ranks at that time. Again, my dad has a perspective on the game, but those guys also brought a very different perspective. Like my dad played in the 70s. So here we are in the 90s, those college guys, those are the guys, the best guys to learn from. So I remember, whatever, Mark Millen, all those guys going to those camps. And not only was it a great learning experience, they were fun as well, right? And you got to play with a lot of different players as well during those. So, and it was just, again, it for a young player, for me, it was just a time for me to be a sponge and absorb as much as I possibly can from different perspectives, right? Because I came up in this one perspective of Coxville Lacrosse and then went to Calvert Hall. Now getting integrated or going to these camps and getting taught by other guys that, grew up on Long Island or upstate New York, or guys that came down to Maryland, like they have a kind of a different view on how the game's played and so forth. And I always thought that helped me kind of get different perspectives and round out my game.
Do you remember who your favorite player was when you were like in high school or middle school? Like, did you have one guy you looked up to, whether they were pro or college or?
I mean, Gary Gate. Gary Gate. I mean, what the come on, no joke too. And I'll never forget. So remember, I don't know.
And he made the rounds at a lot of the camps. Like you would see
legend. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, he was
like
money.
Only shooting demos. You're like,
oh, lights out. Yeah, I mean, and like we did Calvert Hall camp too a ton as well. And Dave Huntley was always classic for the shooting demos, and he'd get like 5 goalies in the goal and be like, who else wants to get in there and still be scoring. But you're right, like especially with Dave, the crossover and the Canadian thing there. Gary Gate was a legend. So Gary Gate by far my favorite player. But funny thing is, we were playing together probably in Boston, and I think Gary came back and played. I think he was playing for the Nationals. Or Rochester, one of them, or something.
Oh, I was thinking box, but did he play field when we were?
No, yeah, this was field. This wasn't box. But I'll never forget. I ended up behind the goal, matched on Gary Gate. I was like, freaking cross-checking Gary Gate right now. I mean, at that point, Gary he had to be like mid-40s, and I was like side shuffling, and he wasn't going anywhere. But
very first game, we were like up 2, less than a minute to go. We're like in a huddle. Salacasio's like, whatever you do, no twos. I'm like, this game's in the bag. Like we up to under a minute. Come out of timeout. Somebody like throws a pass. Some idiot on our team tries to like intercept it, misses. Huge wind up, nails it 2, goes to overtime, and Gary Gate scores on like a one hand, like it either splits down and like goes like that and like goes in, and we lose. I'm like, how the hell did we just lose that game? Number one. And then like Gary Gate's quote afterwards, like, just classic one-hander, no big deal.
Oh, what a legend! That guy was filthy good. So
well, let's shift gears now. To go from Calvert Hall to Columbus, Ohio. Was there a big Calvert Hall pipeline? Because I don't know.
Yeah. So real quick plug: Calvert Hall won the MIA championship in 2003 as a junior. Just to make sure that that's very clear
on the record.
On the record. Who were the standouts from that squad? I'm trying to think back.
So we had, we were really well rounded. So Kevin Huntley played lefty attack. He was a stud in high school. He was a stud in college too. Nick Williams, he went to Towson, crazy good athlete. Matt Eckerl went to Towson too, faced off. The Blevins twins, Jeremy Blevins was in the goal for us. Phil, his twin brother, played at Towson. Reynolds was on that team. Who went to Maryland? Yeah, we were pretty stacked. But Calvert Hall hadn't won since '77, so that was yeah.
That's not like those aren't like names that are like maybe besides Huntley.
Yeah,
etched in Baltimore lore. If that's fair, if that's a fair assessment. Like it sounds like a team that came together, not just like holy as you say, holy smokes, you had that guy on your team, like
yeah, we didn't. Besides Kevin, I would say that like our defensive core, those those 5-6 guys, none of them were like huge names, and I would say that went on to play at big levels in college. They just, Big Hunt's coached the defense there, and he just got them humming. They trusted each other so well. We played really good team ball. Jeremy saw every shot that he wanted to see, and he was lights out. Yeah. So yeah, very much RB. Just a really good team with a lot of good athletes and capitalize on things. So
who did you guys beat that year? Who was like the to beat that you guys overcame?
So we beat on Kip in the quarters, then we moved on and beat on get Kip in there, and then we beat Loyola. So that would have been like Rubior. We beat Rubior in the semis, and then we beat St. Mary's. Remember Big Zerlot went to that was like that was a Huntley Zerlot battle. That was a friggin' just so then we beat them in the finals. So yeah, Cabot Hall Cabot Hall really wasn't in the mix for the longest time, and then finally we mix, and then things just kind of started to click, and they look out. I think BK won the next one a handful of years later, and then it was just like boom, 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 boom. So good for CHC, love it. But in terms of Mitch, in terms of your question about pipeline, so the way I got hooked up with Ohio State was, so I was originally, this is kind of crazy story how this worked out. The night before Joe Bresci came to my house, I was calling Coach Schillinglaw from Delaware to commit to Delaware, and he didn't pick up the phone. And I was like, I'm not gonna be that guy. Yeah, I'm committing to you on your voicemail. Like, come on, that's brutal. I was like, I'll just call the guy tomorrow. So, I ended up waking up to Coach Bresci calling that next morning. It was like, hey, I'm in town. As you guys know, he's a Baltimore guy. Hey, I'm in town. I would love to come over and have dinner with your family. So I was like, yeah, why not? And then, after telling my parents that, they're like, what? Ohio State? What? Here we are in this Baltimore community. It's like, Ohio State, stop. Where is that? So he came over that next night. And then, you guys know Joe Bresci is friggin' the man. So had a great conversation with my parents, loved him. He actually he comes from Loyola, he comes from that lineage. He was putting the 2 and 2 together perfectly for, how my parents would lay things out. And then, as you said, Mitch, there was a pipeline that had went to Ohio State already. So like Tony Russo, Mikey Norton, Mulford, Tom Randisi, all those guys had, basically laid that framework to kind of for the Cabot Hall guys that go out there. And then obviously you have the connection with Brian Kelly and Joe Bresci, who both played at UNC. So my parents loved it. You go on campus at Ohio State. Come on, boy.
So how did things end with Schillinglaw? Did he call you back after that dinner? You're like,
no, that's what I said. I just never called him. I never called him. Never talked to the guy again. I didn't leave a voicemail or anything, and I just was like, I think, I was talking to my parents that night. I was like, you know what, I think Delaware makes sense for me. I think it's good. It's a good school. It's good size. Got good program. Went up and called him. He didn't pick up, and then never looked back. Never called him again. He didn't even know I called him. Wow. And then boom, there I go to Ohio State. So that's how I landed at Ohio State.
The crazy thing about that pipeline, and those names are amazing. I was like, they were on the tip of my tongue. I was hoping to get street cred. I was hoping to get a couple out, but awesome people, right? Like Mikey Norton, Mulford. Those are just great,
top-notch guys,
great people. Yeah, it's
top shelf.
It's,
just great dudes. And when you hear that and you get into that, and you want to be a part of that culture. That's a culture that you want to be a part of. And my mom had some connections with some of those guys that we're talking about, parents, and just being in the Baltimore area and coming to Calvert Hall. And then things just started clicking, and it just seemed really, really, it seemed right. It seemed good.
So when did you make that decision? Because, I think you're a year after me. I remember I made my decision fall of senior year. Was it senior year?
Yep. So we would do So club teams for me that stuff was just coming about. So like the McLaren and like the Crabs, he was just starting that. And that was started with a lot of Cockeysville kids, like a lot of St. Paul's kids from when from my recollection when I was there. So that really wasn't it. Most of our recruiting was more like team based. So Calvert Hall, we would go to, like UMBC had a tournament. I can't even recall the names of them.
Camp, probably went to like Brian.
Yeah, Champ Camp. Went to Champ Camp. Yeah, so we basically, now BK couldn't coach us, so they would bring back like an alumni who had play. Coach Lau used to come back and coach us, and LaMonica would come too. He would come. You guys probably played against Mikey LaMonica. So he would coach us, but BK couldn't. But we would play. It would be like all the Calvert Hall guys playing together.
Yep.
It was awesome. And then we would just be playing in these team formats. And then we would play guys from like upstate New York and then Long Island coming down to play these guys. And that was kind of our recruiting way of recruiting. But also too, Mitch, that I was like I was mentioned before, I wasn't really thinking ahead of like, playing college lacrosse. It was really kind of my juncture, my junior year. Yes. Yeah, what up? It was more my my junior year. Look at these. What are these defense clips?
This is what came up at Ohio State 2008.
Oh, 2008. Oh, geez. Oh, what do we got? This is Ohio State. Black helmets. Jeff Ryan. That sling one? Oh, what up?
It looks like the helmets look like just a head of hair. It looks.
I
like
know they're the yes.
It looks like a head of hair, and then you guys are like the hockey guys from like the old.
I love it.
I love
it. I love it.
Yeah. Who's that?
That's I don't know if that's probably Delgarno. Where is this?
Would you wear
That's Ricky.
Were you 27 at
No, I was 30. I was 33.
33, right.
Oh, there's my man. I just threw the ball.
Yeah, that was a nice little shovel
What
pass.
up?
There he is.
What up?
Surprised.
Yeah, I put that you're talking about that. Yeah, that 16 was a Canadian, Delgarno. He's the guy that got me introduced to, like, this is me. He's the guy that got me introduced to lacrosse, box lacrosse. Lacrosse.
Sophomore in college.
Yeah, lacrosse. He got me introduced to box lacrosse. That's how I.
Joel Delgarno, right?
Joe Delgarno. Yeah, he was Canadian. He went to WRA. He was a Western kid. He was out of Vancouver, BC.
Was he like the one? He had to have been one of the first Canadians to open up kind of the Canadian Ohio State state pipeline.
Yeah, so he was a couple. Yeah, he was a little bit earlier on. They had like, I want to say they had like one or two. There was a couple when I was there and I was a younger classman, like Jason Bloom and Gary Binning. So they had like a couple RB. What's that?
Bloomer and Binning. I forgot about that Ohio State connection with you.
Yeah, but RB, they were kind of the first.
Was that?
And then Delgarno was kind of like what's that?
Did that happen more when Coach Myers took over the program from Bresch?
No, Bresch was bringing some of those guys in, and Joel came from WRA, which is a school in Ohio, Western Reserve Academy, yep. And they had quite a bit of Canadians, and brought quite a bit of Canadians. So, man, I haven't seen highlights from Ohio State in forever.
I like that little goal line extended pick from that clip before there, Bucky. I know.
Yeah, that was – so I played that kid, Timmy Kaiser, in high school. And he just – for some reason, I had like a mental block on him. And so Bresch was like, we're just going to go right at him. You're going to go right at him the first play. So this was the first play. And so Grant Zimmerman was in goal. He's a Gilly Tech guy.
Yep.
Yeah, so I scored that first goal, and then it kind of it gave me some confidence and opened the floodgates. That was when we played North Carolina my senior year at BL. And I think I banged freaking 5, maybe. I don't know. It was I was going.
All these games are RIP GWLL, the Great Western Lacrosse League, right?
Yeah, there's one at BL2 smacking it. Woo!
So you were the GWLL Conference Player of the Year this year.
I was. Yeah, I was. We were Ohio State like by my senior year, I had my 2008 class was really good. We had a really good group of guys. We had guys that contributed defensively, defensive midfield, as well as attack. And then we had the lower class, the junior class, Del Garno's class, was really, really sound too as well. And yeah, we weren't overly good my beginning years at Ohio State, but then we just really kind of started to come into our own. And I want to say I broke brush a little bit that he kind of just let us play, like let the gates open and kind of just play a little bit of style that, I would say that I was used to playing at Calvert Hall. Like we played very much run and gun at Calvert Hall, go to the rack, cut quick, shoot quick. And we kind of just started to open up. And at that point we were rolling. We scored a lot of goals. I think we were averaging plus 15 plus goals. So.
And before we move on to the next step in your journey, talk about like your first like Ohio State, holy smokes, I'm here in the Horseshoe with 100,000, or sorry, the Horseshoe with 100,000.
Yeah, it's Horseshoe.
People. Like, what was your like? Oh my God, I'm in Ohio State. Like lacrosse is is not the biggest thing here. It's like it's something else.
You're like, wait, what do you play that sport with a fishnet? I'm like, wait, what? I mean, and dude, that's me coming around to Baltimore where everyone plays lacrosse.
Right. That's why I thought it's kind of a funny pipeline to go from Baltimore to Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, I'm like, these people coming out of small town Ohio, and they're like, wait, what? Like fishnet? I'm like, stop. Yeah, don't you laugh, Will, but it was true. Like straight up, some of these people are like, I graduated with 20 people in my high school class. I had no idea what lacrosse is. But the sport has grown so much, as you guys know. It's taken by storm. They love it there. But I think our biggest, like this, for some reason, this always sticks out to me. Our first day on campus, we had a freshman orientation. Had nothing to do with from like a student athlete standpoint, but we had a freshman orientation, and we have two arenas on Ohio State campus. We have the Shotning Center, which is the newer one, and St. John's Arena, which is a little bit the older one, the previous one before they brought the shot. We went to the St. John's Arena, and it's still bigger. Yeah, it's like a basketball hockey arena. And so all the freshman class went to this, and we went in, and someone spoke to us and addressed us like the incoming class. It was like the welcome speech or whatever. And my class filled the lower bowl of that stadium. just the people coming in 2000. What's that? The fall of 2004. I'll never forget. They gave us those cameras that are like the wind-up cameras, like yeah. And they're like, everyone take a picture at 1, 2, 3. And I'll never forget that. But it was like, wow. It was 13, 14,000 kids just coming in as freshmen. And it just giving you, that's the best way that I describe like the magnitude of that institution.
Do you have that picture still?
I don't have no idea where that camera is, but it would be amazing. But that was like, wow, like I am a little fish in a really big pond.
What about like first fall football weekend? Is that something that you're like, or just maybe you had so many that didn't stand out?
Yeah, you're right. We were fortunate, especially during that time there in terms of big college experience.
Our for some dynasties.
So Tressel was firing on all cylinders. So came through like Troy Smith was our quarterback with Teddy Ginn Jr. We're lights out. And then I was on the end, like Terrell Pryor came in a little bit. But those guys, Troy Smith, like he was there for a couple years, lighting it up. They went to the championship twice. I would say probably the biggest game that I went into was the fall of 2006. Ohio State was going into Michigan. Both Michigan and Ohio State were undefeated 1-2, and it was at the Shoe. It was a monster game. I've never seen so many people, and we stormed the field at the end. I took a huge chunk of the turf. People literally the turf was destroyed. People were just like taking pieces of the turf back to their homes. On High Street, there were so many people you literally could just crowd surf. It was insanity. There was like,
How
I think they
weird,
said
like,
it was 120,000 in
how weird,
in the stadium.
how weird is thinking about like High Street right now, like given like the pandemic, like
Oh, I know.
think about that, like in our
Deserted.
terms, we're just like, whoa, like how is that ever a thing, right?
Oh, it was crazy. I mean, I still remember like they had like armored vehicles, tanks. I'm like, this is a football game, dude. We're not going to war in Iraq. But they would have like tanks. They had houses. They were just putting up like those rental floodlights, those big floodlights, those things come that they were just putting up on every corner you could possibly imagine, just to light the place up so that if anything went down, like you were under light. It was incredible. Like that experience is nuts. Like you can't top that.
I went on a recruiting trip there, Bucky.
You did? Oh,
Almost did. Almost.
Oh,
it was my fifth. It was my fifth scheduled one. You were allowed 5. Remember?
Yep, I do.
My 5th one, and I was like, I'm not interested. Like I'm just doing it to have like a football weekend.
You should have gone.
Right on.
And they were like,
you should have gone.
They're like, exactly.
Yeah. And then they're like hook, line, and sinker.
I know. We don't. Sure. We don't care. And I ended up canceling, and I should have gone. I ended up canceling because I was like my senior year. I just wanted like a freaking weekend with my buddies, like.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, no. It
like
makes sense.
All over the place. It's your like senior year. Probably not the best time to complain given what seniors have gone through this.
No, yeah.
But at the time, it was just like I just want to like hang out with my buddies and not go.
Yeah. You were 18, RB. What do you expect?
Like didn't care. They were just like, "That's fine, sure. Like you just come. Tell you're not." Sure. Like,
exactly. They don't care. Once you get on that campus, you're just like,
yeah,
nuts.
You idiots.
Yeah.
Well,
so incredible though. Incredible spot.
When did you, I guess, was the MLL something that you had as a goal in mind? Like, had you grown up watching like the Bayhawks or anything, or what was your kind of, where did that stand in your mind as you're coming towards your senior year?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely knew I mean, I certainly knew the MLL, right? Yeah, obviously Baltimore Bayhawks, as well as, the NLL too with like the Baltimore Thunder. And then they moved to the Washington Power. Hunt's coached them for a while. So we, obviously I was good buddies with Kevin. So that connection was there. So I knew about it, but in terms of, in terms of kind of like what I was talking to you a little bit about Calvert Hall and going in the Ohio State. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily think that I was like overly thinking what was the next step. I was very much like kind of in the moment, maximize what's in front of me, and do as best I can there. And then I was just really focused on those 14 games that 2008 season at Ohio State. And, we Ohio State finally there, we won our first ever tournament game against Cornell. Mitch. Yeah, we straight up, we laid it down too. We laid it down. We didn't win. We just straight up.
That was a
smackdown.
You guys scored in like the first 3 seconds, right? And then it was just like,
I think, hey, Mitch, I think we saw every goalie on that roster. I think bring them in. Next.
Didn't Schroeder score?
Yeah, Schroeder scored the first goal. Box fake and short side high.
Anytime Cornell gets the goalie score on them in the playoffs, it's over.
It's bad. Yeah, but I think
Do you remember?
What's that?
How bad was it? Or maybe Mitch.
It was like an 18-10 game or 18-8.
Yeah, I think at halftime it was like 11-4 or 11-3. I mean, we're calling college lacrosse too here, RB. That's a huge. That's like 30-5 in the pros. I'm just kidding, Mitch. I'm just kidding. I hope Tamburino doesn't see this. He'll go bonkers. He heard me one time. He worked
Tamburino instead of Tamburoni.
Oh Jesus!
Tamburino is a Baltimore family.
I know. I'm sorry, Tamburoni. That's terrible. He'd be so upset too with me too because he heard me over speaking that when we played in 2014 in Denver, Team USA, and he was like, "What did you say?" I was talking about that game, and I was like, "Nothing. Someone else asked me about it." But supposedly that final score was the code to the locker room the next year. Yeah. So that was our first ever game, and then it is what it is. We got a taste of our own medicine. We went.
It's also the code to the Ohio State locker room the next
Touche, RB. I love it. Yeah, and then what happened was we went back up to Ithaca because they were hosting the quarters, and we played Duke, and they just worked us. That was Dino and Zach had reclassed, so they had those 5 there. They were just ridiculously deep. Like, we didn't have horses. So
you finish up, right? You probably had already graduated or like just on the verge of graduating.
Yeah.
What was your plan? Since you didn't have a plan, what was your
I know, yeah. I was like, okay, I'm done that. So at that point, then I was like, oh, you go through I remember like filling out the paperwork for the MLL. I was like, yeah, I want to try to play in the MLL. I hope I can play in the MLL. And so I was just going through the process. I played in the North-South game. Yeah, the North-South game. And I'm pretty sure that was prior to the MLL draft. I'm mixing my details now. But, I remember Coach Myers basically telling me, like, supposedly I made a good impression in the North-South game, and you look fast, you look good, yada, yada, yada. And, then talk took me number 5 with the LA Riptide.
Oh. Yeah, was that a surprise to you? Did you have a full-time – I don't remember if you had a full-time job.
I didn't have a full-time job at that point. I changed majors, so I actually had one more quarter in the fall. So I actually was going to come back to Ohio State to finish up. The LA Riptide.
I forgot who drafted you.
Yeah, Tucker drafted me. I went high 5. I was kind of surprised by. I was kind of surprised by that.
Bucky was on the Last Dance team of the LA Riptide.
Yeah, that team was epic. That team was so cool. One of my favorite teams I've ever played on.
You lived the Philadelphia Barrage championship victory another time. Is that? I'm here for it.
We had the best Princeton attackman of all time on that team.
True.
No, just kidding, RB. I'd love you. No. I'm just kidding.
Hubby is, although Mets, the Princeton lore is that Mets would pick Massey over all of us. That's what has been passed down.
Really?
But Hubby is in terms of from an iconic attackman standpoint, Hubby's the best.
I don't know, RB. You're up there. You're way up there.
Overtime national championship game-winning shots.
Dude, Hubby. So Hubby had this one play. I don't know who we were playing, but this was ridiculous.
Don't you want to hang out with Hubby all the time?
He's amazing. He's amazing.
We got to get Hubby on.
You do need to get Hubby on.
Even if it's a guest recurring role.
he does. We tried to after the game we in Boston, the playoff game in Boston. Huntley and I were like, our number one priority was to try to get Hubby hammered. Didn't go over so well. I was like, yeah, I'll buy whatever you guys want. What do you guys want? Just drinking us down like a fish. Friggin' Huntley and I were mopping the floor. But I'll never forget this one play with Hubbard. We were in with LA, and someone came down the side, and it was a little bit unsettled transition, and someone whipped the ball over to him on his righty wing. That he kind of obviously hung out a lot. And he was there, and it wasn't overly a good pass. It was a little bit further away from him. So rather than Hubby moving his feet, he kind of slid his hand down on his shaft and just caught it one-handed, and then went low to high far side, all in one stroke. My eyes were and I was just right there for it, and he didn't think anything of it. He was like, "Oh yeah, that was a good take, good shot, just pop the corner, no big deal." Oh yeah, high five around. I'm like, Hubbard, that was absurd. You literally just went all one sweet motion, and I don't even know who the goalie was. What? Crazy. I'll never ever forget that goal. It was incredible.
And then, so after the Riptide folded, did you and I go, and Downing, all three of us, go to Boston?
I went to Chesapeake. God. Oh wait, no, I take that back. I got dispersed to Chicago or something weird like that, and then I ended up in Chesapeake.
Got it. And how many years were you in Chesapeake? Just one?
Just one. And then I ended up in Boston because of I got shuffled there for work, and then I was like, I need to be traded up there, and it worked out well.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's
so
good.
Yeah, and then I landed I think that year I landed. Yeah, that year landed with the Blazers too.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
You became a true
That was,
Boston guy.
I was living in Boston and I was playing in Boston 2 markets. Amazing. Best year ever.
What was your
Yeah, it was
Boston
awesome.
experience before the Blazers? Did you do anything in college, going out with a buddy like up north of the border?
No, I didn't do any of that. The only stuff like, and I mentioned a little bit about Del Garno there, was I mentioned he's the one that introduced me to me. I was like, wait a second, what kind of lacrosse do you guys play? And he would show me these clips of them in like BC playing on concrete floors and fighting each other. I'm like, what? This is like how you learned how to play lacrosse? So bizarre. So bizarre. But we ran, because he was Canadian, heavily all left-handed. I was left-handed too. We had this play, and people always joke about it. It was called 200 Slam, and it was just him and I picking for each other on the left side, and then action happening off of it, very similar to what we did in this past series, RB. Yeah, and so I started, like, I developed, we ran it so much over my 3 years, like, I just developed kind of the field knack of pick game and playing with him. And then, Myers was like, you should give it the NLL a go. And then I did my first time I did actual box lacrosse was in the Boston Combine in 2000. Yeah, that fall of 2008. And that was the first time I was like, wait, and I still will never forget shooting on those goalies for the first time. I was like, I can just straight up crank the ball like from 6 yards away. Not to mention that those goalies aren't nearly as good. Those goalies are nearly as good as the actual guys that were starters for the teams. So I was like, oh, this ain't too bad. Bringing 3 yards away, snapping corners, and then sure enough, I was like, wow.
And you started,
the starters are pretty good.
And you started in Minnesota.
So I got.
I don't think we ever overlapped Minnesota, right?
I got drafted to Minnesota, and I sat. Yeah, I got drafted to Minnesota, and I sat the first couple games. I got in one game like kind of against Colorado. It did okay. It was fast. Things were flying around me. And then, so this is actually the story of how I kind of like became like a little bit steady. We were in Toronto, and I can't remember. I think it was Aaron Wilson got stuck in Milwaukee trying to connect into Toronto, and they had to play me.
So it takes. I'm telling you, in the
they had to play me.
MLL, whatever it is, it's like you might only get one shot. And if you play good, you end up having to clear.
Yeah.
Play bad, you're never playing again.
I know, so it's crazy. So here I am. I played okay. Like the first game I played okay. I didn't really develop, but like it was fine. So here I am, like, a game or so later, I think I said, well, and then like, all right, Buchanan, you're in, you got to play. Because the guy's stuck in Milwaukee. I was like, all right, I'll play. And then, I don't know, I shot against Whipper was the goalie, who's a legend in Canada. And I dropped 5 on him. And, and that was it. And then that was like.
How to Mitch's point, and this is what it's so hard to like tell young people sometimes, because you have to be like opportunistic, but the amount of sheer luck in terms of Schillinglaw just doesn't pick up the phone. Aaron Wilson gets
stuck in Milwaukee.
You still have to make those opportunities. You have to create the opportunities and then make them. But it's just, God, life is so freaking bizarre.
It's crazy. And like RB, like you're right. And I know. And you know what? I think it's just like, it is crazy. And I just, but during the week I was doing my stuff and I was working hard and I was ready to go and I was a part of it. And whether I was in the stands or on the floor, I was trying to be a good teammate and freaking make the next guy better. And, it's tough in the NLL, especially in the NLL too. I will say that was uncomfortable. Like, and I know Mitch and I know RB, you probably felt it too, is like, we kind of feel like, at least I think it's more widely accepted now, but when I was going in, it was like, I feel like the Canadians thought we were kind of coming into their game. And at least I always got that feeling. And, some of the guys I didn't feel like were overly welcoming to me and didn't necessarily want to see me succeed or wouldn't tell me what to do or what I was doing wrong. And I basically needed to just view and understand, like, what's happening around me? This guy on my line, how is he scoring? How is he not scoring? And just view him and be like, how's he moving the goalie? How's he creating space for himself? Because it was tough. So it was uncomfortable. And I think for a lot of American players, that's tough, especially when you come to the point where, you know, I'm coming high, flying high, coming off of like, oh man, I had a great college career, like, you know, good high school career, pushed me into college. You know what I mean? Like, I've been playing at a high level for a long time. You're coming back down at the bottom, and you need to learn a game that you don't know at all, and be humble enough to be at the very, very bottom, and then scratch and claw your way up.
Yeah, you're not necessarily getting like coddled the way up, like maybe
exactly
those other environments where you got someone looking out for you and helping.
For sure, right? Absolutely. And you're like, you know, and as much as it is like sometimes like, oh, you know, he's got this lineage, he holds this weight, his name's like, they just already have a little bit of confidence in you just because of your past sometimes, and people around you have that confidence in you, where this is like, they don't have any confidence in you. You're like, you don't know anything about a game. You've never shot on one of these. And you're like, all right, I've never shot on one of these. I've never shot on one of these goalies. So yeah, to your point, RB, it's just, but again, make sure that you do your steps so that when that time comes, have at it. And it just happened so that, you know, and this is even crazy. Whipper was a goalie that played back on his line. Like if I shot against, like I mentioned, playing with Dylan Ward in the chaos, that's not how we see in field. We see net in field. So when the way Dylan Ward, his toes on the crease, I can't like, that's just not, I struggle with that because I'm not used to not seeing any net and trying, like those Canadians are good with shooting the eyes of their stick, and I'm not good at that, or throwing that backside feed because he's so far out. Like I wasn't taught like that for 30 years prior to getting into the NLL. Yeah. So it just, again, here it is like Whipper played back on his line. So I could see net.
Yeah.
So, and I remember that. And, you know, there was a couple goalies that play like that, Vino plays like that too. And it's just better for me because that was always my mindset of like catching and looking. When I grew up playing field, we would see net.
Grease crank from 5 yards.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not? So that, and then just kind of like my speed and running around them. And yeah. So it just, you're so right. It's like so many things just interweave together.
Well, speaking of that, you know, that ankle breaking speed, let's check out a little Kevin Buchanan inside in box here.
Oh, yes. Old school Philadelphia Wings. What up?
The best part is this, the title of this is Kevin Buchanan with an unreal dodge and goal. Good little hitch.
Who'd I get on this?
Is that Kazi?
Is that unreal? Is that an unreal dodge?
I don't think so, but that went.
Paul Rabiel, as all the Canadians say, was in that.
Yeah, Rabiel. Oh, that is Kazi. Yeah, I got him 5 on that sucker. Look at that squad. Halsey, Rabel, Westy.
Or the team you guys had.
What year is this? 13?
Maybe. I think you're right, yeah.
Oh, pop it in there.
Got to get to the middle of the net indoor. Oh, boy. That's what it's all about, getting to that spot.
Right over Brad Self's shoulder. Brad Self, legend. I think he's still playing. No, he might be coaching now. I think
he's coaching in Colorado. Oh, what up?
Oh, what's that?
And then we've got a little Buchanan Belial matchup here.
What? Shut up, really?
Oh,
yes.
You score here. It's kind of a little bit of a garbage goal, but you find a way.
Oh, whatever, Mitch. Oh, the Wolves. This was like when I played on the Black was here. This was kind of like the first. That's garbage.
I tried to pull it out of the net real quick so they wouldn't think it was a goal.
Yeah, that's garbage.
Replay this,
man.
Bucky.
I got terrible we got terrible highlights online for me off of Google searches. I need to like compile like good highlights.
I don't even know how this ball went in still to this day.
Yeah. Oh, short side.
Mitch, go to the start. Watch Mitch's reaction. Just don't even follow yourself. Just watch Mitch's reaction next to the goal after it goes in. Look at this just look of angst after this ball goes in. There's the old head up, the whole head roll, that eye roll, like no way. It's like the worst.
That was the Black Wolves.
Look at how this happened. It was like
I-
a close game. The very end of the half, it like tips off. Someone rolls through six legs.
I'm here for the human emotion. And I just want to see the head roll one more time.
Matisse misses a one-hand pickup and knocks away from crap, and then
I get it. Short side.
He sees the scoreboard, but then this one right here.
So pissed. That was the Black Wolves kind of like that was the first team that I was on that was besides the Blazers was steadily good. Yeah, twisted short side.
We had some good battles of the Swarm and the Black.
Yeah,
this couple of years.
That was the team that we had good consistency year over like for a good 3 or 4 years there, and that was like I said, besides the Blazers where we have CP, Dan Dawson, Shooter, epic scores. That was the Black Wolves were like the first team that I was on that like we would just fill up the net like crazy.
Well, now we got to go to the MLL stuff because I think my favorite part of every season was like the first couple weeks of MLL. So you had always been playing it. So you had always been playing in the NLL, and like in the NLL you can run through the crease, and like the first 2 to 3 games of every year would just be you running through the crease and Ryan screaming at you, and this was like it was like I would get pissed, but I was like so funny because how mad I would get about it.
Amazing. I can still hear him back there. You can't run to the crease. Freaking beat red face.
Just because you'd always be behind goal line extended, so you do something like this, shoot, and then just kind of trot like no big deal.
It took me a while. Oh, my camera went down.
You can't. That's a turnover. It's a shot, fine, but like when you do that, it's a turnover every single time.
It would happen on a missed shot, which is the best part. It wasn't even.
Oh yeah, sometimes. Yeah, RB's right. I would literally like casually not care, and I would just trot through and be like, "Oh shit, I can't run through there."
And I would be back.
Oh yes, was that highlight on Bice? Please tell me it was.
Oh please, I hope so.
Oh, you took it as.
Oh, it was. Later, Bice.
You just lay back down.
I have to get this highlight and send it to him. Me decapping his knee.
Friend of the program, Greg Bice.
Oh yes. Oh, I think that was I think that was RB that just passed me that ball and hooked me up there.
Why'd you pick up a long pole here in this All-Star game?
I think we were dominating, and I just needed to do a little twist. That was kind of smooth. No, I think I threw a surfer. Oh, I threw the surfer out there too. Yes.
Bucky.
Oh, yep.
We'll play there.
Is that Pasque's only career assist?
I know. I was like, is that Pasque passing me the ball?
Here you go. Two Calvert Hall Cardinals right here.
Reynolds. Yeah.
No chance that's a goal. You smashed into the goalie before you shot that, by the way.
Stop. Nuh-uh.
Yes, you did.
What do you mean? I think it was in. Well, that's a push. So that's a push, right? And then that's a goal.
And then Garrity jump kicks you.
Yeah. How's that bad? Oh.
Who's the short stick D-Mitty just completely overrunning that play, by the way?
I don't know.
Is that Ari Sussman? Sussy?
Yeah. Sussy! Oh, Joe. Oh, was that a 2-ball?
It was.
Yes. I did have a couple of those in my day. Didn't happen often.
I feel like you had more than anyone I know is you would score 2s when the goalie's out for whatever reason.
All the time.
Like where the goalie's out and you just got it in the empty net.
You had more
sure.
range than people gave you credit for. You did like legit range.
Yeah. Me? RB?
Oh my God. Stone just totally blew that apple, but I'm glad you scored.
Yes. Oh, a little 2-man game, and I'll take that.
Who is 70?
Chris Boland.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Boland. Great number there, 70.
I like it. I mean, through the Cannons years, I think if they kept hockey assists or like second assists in the MLL, I think I probably would have had 1,000. literally, my Cannons days, I think this is what I pretty much remember. Dodging from that wing, throwing the Boyle, and then watching him throwing in the Posky and score. And I was like, some of the areas that Posky was, and then like RB, some of his feeds, I'm like, how are they even getting in there? And it just was automatic. It was just like boom, 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 boom.
While we were in PLL Bubble Island in Utah, Bucky brought up his favorite Cannons man-up play where I just carry
amazing,
and then pass it like this.
Everyone would be like, wait, I don't understand. How is he open? It was incredible. But that's what I remember. RB, freaking classic.
And I'm surprised. I'm curious to watch this one because that 2012, what I remember the most about you was your off-ball cutting. I feel like you would just always streak off that left wing, catch it from Boyle, and score. And there were so many in that clip. I wondered, was that later in your career you got like more of being an off-ball threat and less of a dodger, or am I misremembering completely?
No. I think like I cut a lot. I think I always had the mindset that if I always needed to occupy my guy, right? And if I wasn't occupying my guy, then I wasn't doing a good job from a team offense standpoint. So ideally, I would just be, and they used to say, this is dating myself, obviously, they used to say, cut when you see the laces, or cut when you see, the laces on the back of your helmet or the strings, right? And I still continue to and did that a lot during my day. It just always, anytime someone turned the hair, it'd be gone. And then, I was fortunate. I'm going to pump your tire, RB. Like, RB's, if you cut, he's going to hit you. It just is what it is. He's not going to miss you.
Well, now I'm thinking Will Navy was probably the second guy who would feed you, right? Like, did you and Will, like your last year with the Cannons was Will's first year, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we start. Yeah, there's RB. Like RB. I mean, it was. There's not many players that I played with that literally, if I cut, the ball would be on my stick, and if I was open. RB, you gave me like a handful of couple that I think we had one in Rochester. I scored, pushed us in OT, win that. Yeah. But, when you're around those guys, you just got to capitalize on that. And I think also too, Mitch, is that, I went from, Ohio, even in Calvert Hall as I got in my later years, carrying the ball a little bit more. And then even into Ohio State, my job was a little bit more of carrying and initiating, that when you got into the pros, you needed to not necessarily always be with the ball, right? And always contribute with the ball in your stick. So, we obviously played, with the Cannons, we played with Paul, who demanded a lot of the ball time. So it was, for me, I thought it was always beneficial, like to be a good player, to be able to play without it. And at the same time, be able to play with it.
Underrated feeder, Paul.
Yeah, very good feeder. I think I worked with Paul a lot on a lot of things. Like Paul perfected he would split and a lot of times come to my side, and we perfected, like, I would put my guy in this kind of gray zone, and he would step up to kind of help close the gap on Paul. Boom, Paul would put in my stick and be freaking sling it right low, far and away. And it happened so quick. And from a goalie's perspective, you're just seeing pass shot.
Yeah.
It's just tough. That's tough to stop. And then I think Paul too also really perfected the way, kind of this reverse and what I just talked about. He would kind of float his guy, and I would always sweep across the top, just like box is so effective. And his guy would kind of fill that gap, so I couldn't run down the middle of the field. Paul would slightly float, just put it on his stick, and then Paul started, instead of catching and dodging, he was like, screw it. He just started putting it on net. And I think that benefited him a lot too. So,
and like a guy like that, I mean, how long does it take for you guys to develop that chemistry? 1 season, 2 seasons? Because you were together 4 years.
Yeah, we were together. I think I morphed to play with guys pretty good. Even with Chaos a little bit, I needed to morph a little bit and kind of play a little bit more off ball too, and kind of just movement based, cutting good, not necessarily to get me the ball, but to suck the slide from the backside. guys of respect there. And then the skip through will be open, kind of setting good picks and stuff like that. And then here and there, maybe just initiating and being simple just to kind of get our engine going. So I feel like I adapted really good. But with Paul, Paul's a special player. He's a great player. Paul's got a strong personality and want things Paul and sometimes want things Paul's way. But I think we're great friends and we developed a good chemistry. And, I think we had a really good balance too, obviously up front there with RB and Pasque that had really veteran leadership. So it made the environment relatively easy to adapt and for Paul and I to create a really good union and be able to gel really well.
Well, I want to talk about one thing that is, I think is like the kind of the craziest story, because I don't think I heard this for like years later, but this is from the 2010 All-Star Game freestyle. And I think this is your
Oh, geez, yeah. Was this my failed attempt? Oh, like this is my
attempt, right?
Yeah. Oh, through the arrow to the sky.
You went on the archers based on that.
Oh, I know, right?
Look at Tuck in the background. Look at that head of hair, huh?
I know, right? That looks like a Lego hair, huh?
Let's
plop right on my head.
Let's talk about Tuck smiling, because what happened on the first one? Do you remember him telling this? I didn't hear the story for probably till like my second.
Well, I bashed Tuck's mouth out.
That's what.
The goal. Yeah. So the first time we did it. Yeah. So yeah. So first of all, I didn't know what I was going to do going into this. And we like literally were about to go in the locker room, like, all right, we got to do something. And like Bice and Train were like, this is what we're going to do. Like, and we came up with this. So the first time I tried it, I went up on Train and Train didn't have Bice to kind of brace himself. So he collapsed and then I hit the goal, and the back of the goal, when I hit it and fell into it, it popped up and hit Tuck right in the face and bashed out his tooth. You had to go to the dentist and get like an implant.
Yeah, that's the part of the story that I was like, I didn't hear that till years later, and I was like, oh
yeah,
my God. But
I didn't even know. I didn't
walking off this one.
Yeah, this one he was fine. Yeah, because see, Bice was there. We beefed up the support, so I love it. That was hilarious, and I was gonna just jump over the goal, but just the way it was, I was like, all right, I guess I'll just grind the top pipe, the crossbar.
Give Tuck credit. He's smiling in the background after getting
a
tooth knocked out.
Tuck's a legend. Guy's the man. Love it.
That might have been one of the better freestyle challenges right there.
Yeah, that probably. I won. I want to say a year or two later too. I won the. I did skeet pull. That was a pretty good one too. So we had these all-star hats, like, the flat brim snapbacks, and I got someone to get 5 of them, and they were on like the righty, they were like on the righty side of the righty crease, right side of the net. And they were like, I would be like, with my stick, I'd be like, pooh! And then I would shoot it. And I think I actually legit hit the last one. I hit the hat and then went in the net. It was pretty legit. No chance I could do that again. The fact that actually worked on 5 reps was incredible. I was like, oh my gosh, can't believe that it worked. Legend. But I broke the TV in the Marriott. Yeah, that was that one. I broke the TV in the Marriott practicing my trick shot. So that $1,000 went basically right to the Marriott. I bashed that TV good.
Let's get this. This is a good, nice, again, mashup of multiple guests from the Trilogy Lacrosse Theater. Old Ned.
What is this?
We got
Nedzo
for this.
What's up, guys? Ned Crotty.
Oh my gosh.
Lacrosse.com studios with Brian Lacrosse. Everybody left the studio. Kevin and I got left here alone. So I want to give you guys a quick tip. We just noticed here our boy Manny had a terrible helmet wheelie. For those of you guys don't know what that is, when you turn to the side, that is when your helmet is doing a wheelie on top of your head. You see here his chin is below his chin piece. Not only is he looking like an absolute idiot, but if he gets hit, his teeth are going to go right through his lip. All right, so what you want to do is you want to get that chin piece nice down below. Maybe he's got a pretty big dome, so it won't go down any further. All right, but you want to make sure you get that chin piece nice and low. Also, for all you kids out there, put the haircuts on the back burners. Get a little flow back here. It'll be more fun.
adds a little extra to your game.
Be more mullet. That's the original. That's the original. That is the original. RB probably had a Be More mullet.
Oh yeah, it's enshrined on the cover of Inside Lacrosse magazine.
Oh, it's amazing. That's truly what started that all.
That's amazing.
Well, awesome. Well, we got to, I know you got to probably, what time do your kids wake up, by the way?
My boys wake up around 8:00.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Between 7 and 8.
Style?
They get going. They get going.
Wait, what about your 1-year-old?
He'll wake up around 7.
What time?
Yeah.
My kids are sprinting in at 6 a.m. on the nose. We slept till 7:30 the other day, and it felt like I've been asleep for 2 years straight.
Yeah. My boy, yeah. They crank. But once they're up, they're ready to go. It's mayhem. The place is nuts. You think I got energy? They're next level. Next level. They love lacrosse though. They love hockey too. Hockey and lacrosse is their go.
And kind of got to wrap it up on kind of the PLL front and with the chaos. Obviously, you guys had a great run at it and went I should say an interesting run with the 0-4 in pool play and then just tearing it up in the playoffs. Like, what was different about that team? What was special about that group?
Sandbaggers.
And was there sandbagging?
Towers. So Towers. No, I think that group was special though. I'm so blessed to be on so many good teams and surrounded by so many good players and great guys. The personalities on that team are awesome. We just have like such a great collective group of dudes working for the ultimate goal, the bigger goal, the team goal of succeeding on the field together. And I think that looking at it, it was a great way to end. Right, it was an experience that at first I was like, oh, this is going to be a disaster. We're going to go 0-5. My last professional lacrosse stuff. This is going to stick in my memory, and it couldn't have been any better that we were at the very bottom of the barrel, Mitch. We were doing a great job we were getting better every single game, right? And as much as blah, 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 it's the format, right? Everyone gets to play in the bracket. So pool play didn't matter. It was just all about us. Like, can we figure out and can we continually get better each and every game? And I think that we did that and we continue to get better at each game. And it was tough and it wasn't fun on those 4 games that we lost. And, again, everyone's competitive and wants to win, hangs on you. But we made adjustments and we continued to get better. And I think, RB, you probably can speak to it as like, that was, we were as much as every other team, we were the team that probably changed the most across that whole tournament in terms of development from the start to the very final game.
I mean, you kind of had to. You're 0-4, right?
Had to.
But I think like there was certainly a mixture of you guys like maybe held some stuff back, but then made some major changes and some minor changes. And I think a lot has been made of the major changes, but not as much has been made about the minor change. That was kind of switching you and Eric Scott, from a midfield perspective. And so like from statistics standpoint, it was something crazy. Like the first 4 games, Mitch, they shot like 9 out of 13 on 2-man games. So you feel like there's all these box guys and they only took 13 shots out of a 2-man game. And then like in game 1 of the playoffs, they were 9 of 13. Like, okay, I guess kind of changed overnight. So I think I think that first game you played. You were I think one of the best pickers of the whole series. I thought you were really smart about when you picked, hunting down picks as both the off ball guy and then an on ball guy.
Yeah.
First pick the first 2-man game and then kind of finding one later in your dodge.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially too, there is very much a difference, and I know you guys know, like between the 2-man game indoor and 2-man game outdoor, though has the same principles, is very different, right? Like outdoor, you can't move guys, indoor, you can just bash guys. Yeah, so I think there was finding that happy ground, and I think I maybe was a good bridge between some of the guys that I ended up running with, and that making that change up. I think it was, and I felt that it was a good adjustment, even though you're right. It was more of the subtle adjustment that me going with Dane and Audie was kind of like when they made that adjustment, I was like, I'm surprised they didn't make this a while ago. It just fit really well, right? Dane's a great player who always has his head up, and I'm a cutting type guy. Like I said, if I play with guys that I know I'm like just like RB, I'll make it happen. Like I cut. And then Audie, I kind of started to understand Audie's game a little bit. You know, in the first beginning, Audie was getting the ball like the midfield line and trying to carry it down. That's just not Audie's game. No. So a lot of the stuff that, you know, I was kind of just, and I hope he didn't feel like I was handcuffing Audie, but I was you would start to see me carry the ball down more. And I was pushing Audie down into more of like that, you know, 5-and-5 area. Or kind of, and I even talked to Audie, like, Audie, when you get the ball, don't be any more beyond the arc. Like that's where all your action is going to happen. Cause he's lethal when he gets in there. Right. But he needs to be going at the net, and he can't be running for 40 yards. So we just made those adjustments, and then we had good action with, like I said, Dane started to find people. We got Audie in the right spot. And then you're right. Like there's only so much ball to go around. So, you know, how can I be impactful? How can I benefit? Organizing guys like I was trying to do, carrying the ball down. A lot of that stuff, I was going at it hard. Yeah, do I want to go right to the net? But as you know, that's an okay shot clock. You don't really work the defense at all. Ball goes the other way. It's brutal. We started to getting kind of like to those second, third, fourth tiers, as much as you preached one of the cannons. And the guys, like, the defense just starts to break down. Their matchups are all over the place. Their angles are coming out to play you are atrocious because the ball is just spinning so fast. And then you're putting shots on net off ball movement or off skips. And for the goalies, I know these goalies are the best in the world, but that's a struggle for anyone. And then kind of like you saw that a little bit like with Galloway. They're like, oh, Galloway couldn't say anything. I don't know if that was necessarily the case, but we were just pounding the ball off skips. He was like, boom, boom, skip on net. And it's impossible. Like, that's so tough to save. I mean, Look at Ovechkin in NHL, right? Guy just makes a living off of that. Just redirecting the puck on net. So
literally makes a living off.
literally. So I think, we that micro adjustment and it paid off dividends. And like I said, I was just willing to just do what needed to be done to make us successful. And it was good.
No, it was I was a little bit of Twilight Zone. It was like, Kevin Buchanan, organizer?
I know. That's, you know what it takes, you know what, RB too, and it takes so much effort to organize.
Yeah.
It really does. I mean, you were the best at it that I've ever played with. And you controlled and managed the game. And I was talking and I was like, holy smokes, I'm like a later RB yelling at like, Newman, don't shoot it. And I'll like, even Newman's play and you would do the same thing. You would manage, I remember you would go to the sideline and not even be in the break. And you would just make the D guys throw it down to you. And it was like, just freaking sucking the life out of the game for the other team. And that was kind of where a huge point too, with that one play Newman came over and we were playing the Archers. It was, I think it was a 7-3 game, and Newman was wide open. He could have went down and shot it, and we've seen it all the time. He'd shoot it, it'd go in the goalie's stick. We had numbers coming this way. Now they got numbers going that way. Now all of a sudden it could have been a 7-5 game, but guess what? He didn't shoot it. He passed it to Dixon. We ran our offense, burned 40 seconds. Now we're up 8-3.
It was on full circle, Bucky.
I know. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm like yelling. And Newman even says like, that's what I need. I just need someone to tell me. I'm like, holy smokes. I'm like, get the guy out of the booth. Get the guy out of the booth.
It was, despite all this, Mitch, I still made a chaos practice and Bucky a man play on the timing. And I was like, good to see something.
I didn't know the play at all. Completely got it.
Ran to the crease.
Time. Second time it hits the stick. We're in it. And like it sticks and stick. He just like throws it. Next thing you know, Bucky starts running off. And then Like, and then the ball keeps moving around, and someone just stared like, Bucky, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, forgot.
I know. I've missed those years. I mean, RB, be able to organize. I just would be able to come out of the box and just go full energy. Just full energy, not even have to think about playing or doing anything. Just listen to you and just be like, yeah, I'm going to go at this hard. You want me to go right now? I'll go. Go hard.
Good to see some things don't change.
Oh, yeah.
And man up or power during practice. Just I wasn't paying attention.
At least I was honest. So,
all right. Well, let's shift to the kind of quick hit questions here. I'm gonna start off with one we've never asked before, but I saw an interview with you, and I'm curious if your musical tastes have shifted since 2014. What's your favorite musical act or singer or band?
Oh, I know.
I'm big on so work. I listen a lot. I'm a big on. Can I get multiple, or do I have to have one?
I mean, you can get multiple. But...
Yes, I'm big on the Eagles right now.
Eagles.
I'm big on the Eagles. I'm big into iration, so I like the reggae. Yeah, a little bit of the reggae.
Right. What was your guess, right?
I know 100% what this is. It's Jimmy Buffett.
Oh, I love Jimmy B.
So you know the cannons. It was Citizen Cope back in 2014. I was like, "There's no way that's stuck."
Wait, Citizen Cope is his answer?
Citizen Cope was his answer.
Really? I like Citizen Cope. Be my boy.
A big shark head.
He's. Oh, I love Jimmy Buffett.
Parrot head. They're called parrot heads.
Parrot heads, and it's fins to the left, fins to the right.
Hey,
Come on.
I haven't been to a Buffett show at Merriweather, baby. Come on now.
Yeah, boy. Dude, I don't know. Jimmy, I don't know. I don't think Jimmy's kicking around that much.
He is. He's still making music. He just came out with a new album. I saw it.
Guy never wears shoes on stage. Guy has the best brand of all time.
Fancy. All right. How about best place to play lacrosse?
In my yard with my boys.
Oh,
good answer. Good answer.
I'm a father now, aren't I? That was a father answer. That was a dad answer.
That was awesome.
That was good.
Best.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Rye.
No.
You big hat guy. Played for
Big
a lot.
hat.
Played for a lot of teams. Favorite mascot logo that you've played for?
Easy. Rippy the Riptide. You know what my golden retriever's name is?
Oh yeah.
Rippy. After Rippy, the mascot of the Riptide.
How is Rippy doing, by the way?
He's doing good. You want to check him out?
Yeah, I do. Oh yeah.
Yeah, say what up. He's old puppy now. He's 8 years old.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. I remember when he was a little guy.
Yeah, he was in the showers with us.
That's right. That's right.
And Foxy was feeding him breakfast burritos. He didn't know anyone on the team except Foxy. God knows where he's.
All right, best place in Columbus, Ohio that someone should go visit if they're going to Columbus.
Oh, Short North. You gotta love it. Yeah, great spot now, and especially it's 100 times better than it was when I was there too.
You got a favorite local watering hole or restaurant?
So I love the North Star. There's two of them. There's one in the Short North and there's one over in the Easton Mall. I love North Shore. I love Mohawk, and I would say the follow-up to the Short North is German Village too. German Village is the bomb. And I love there's a place called Mohawk. I get this Mother Mohawk sandwich, and then Schmidt's is lights out. German place, Max Schmidt. His family owns that restaurant.
Oh, really?
Yeah, place is incredible.
Most embarrassing lacrosse moment.
Most embarrassing lacrosse moment? Man, that's a tough one. Guys, when have I been embarrassed? Especially on the lacrosse field.
Good point.
I'll tell you when.
Give it to me. When I ran through the crease?
Too many of those.
Playing the Lizards at Stony Brook. Stony Brook.
Okay.
Come out of a timeout, stop a play. You're playing attack at the time. Look to my right. We're at the midfield line. The ball's at the other end. Look to my right. Pasque's there. Look to my left. Double take. Left. I'm like, that's not Kevin Buchanan.
I think I had to go. Hey man, I gotta go. Guys gotta go.
Like, where's Bucky? He went in the locker room. What for? Had to go to the bathroom.
I still remember that. Yeah, and we had a play drawn up too, and I had to come sprinting out. I don't think I made the play. I missed the shift. Oh man, RB, how do you remember that? That's amazing.
Look to my right, look to my left. That's not Kevin Buchanan.
Oh, wow.
Right, let's go to the positive here. Let's go best teammate that you've ever had.
Ooh.
Teammate Tuesday today.
Teammate Tuesday. Wow, that's tough. I've had a lot of good teammates in so many different capacities. I think, and I'll go just kind of like on my later, because again, I could list so many. I can list kind of the one. I think the one of the most recent, Blaze Reardon. Incredible teammate, amazing player, and an even more of an amazing person. Just a guy that is just always willing to do whatever needs to be done. He's the most genuine, nice guy to every player, whether they're wearing our sweater or someone else's sweater. Competes hard, wants everything you can possibly give. Yeah, just great guy all around. Blaze.
Awesome. And if you had to go with the most underrated guy on the Chaos, like funniest or like best to hang out with, most underrated though, maybe under the radar.
But I love MT, Miles Thompson, but I don't know if I would consider. Yeah, Miles is, and he's just he's great. He's great. It's all the earth. Biggest smile of all time. Just great perspective on what's going on. He's someone that I certainly was so fortunate with Chaos to be able to meet, and our journey to cross. He's awesome. He's a gem.
What about your Mitch? Am I stealing your thunder if I go with the favorite moment, or we save?
No, let's wrap up with that. Let's have you close it out.
No, favorite. If you had to pick one, Bucky, favorite lacrosse moment.
Favorite lacrosse moment would be in 2003 in the MIA championship. I think I scored the first goal. Probably my favorite moment, and I still we St. Mary's I think jumped out to like a 2-3-0 lead. I don't know why I remember this play, RB, but it is. And they kind of jumped out. I think everyone was kind of, at that point we hadn't been in the championship forever. Again, BK hadn't been there ever, and which is kind of like you get down early in those games. We don't have ton of experience, but guys get tight, and we ran a play. Huntley came up and picked on the kind of the top lefty alley. I ran down the side, and the way the goals were strung in Towson, they like kind of were strung with like this, like, I don't know how they mesh, but when you hit just kind of where the pipe and the net meet, it like made a slapping sound.
Oh yeah.
That's exciting. I don't know if you recall. I don't know if you shucks. Going nuts here. And I'll never forget, just down the alley, pumped it, and it was probably one of the most accurate shots that I vividly really remember ever, and it was right offside hip, and that kind of just lightened the load, and we rallied to win, I think 7-5. So that was right, kind of random, isn't it?
No.
That was it's such there's so many great moments I've had, and I love that one. That's probably one of my favorites.
Taking it back to the roots. Love it.
Yeah, it was great. That was great team. Great feel of success and winning at a high level.
Well, so, it's probably going to be a little strange at this time next year as you're not playing, but
Yeah.
we appreciate you sitting down and talking through this. I mean, Ryan and I were like so excited to do this because of all the memories and the funny things and the funny
For
stories.
sure.
You know, you're just so positive and you bring so much energy to a team that they're certainly going to miss you. Going to miss you on the chaos in the chaos locker room, but
Yeah.
it's awesome. We're living those funny memories with you, and it's awesome.
Yeah. No, I loved every second of it. Every second of it. And then, you know, kind of as my journey closes here in terms of playing, my boys are starting.
Yep.
So, and yeah, so, you know, Hobie's 5 and he's going to start getting into it real close as playing organized now, hockey, and then lacrosse next. And so their journey starts, and I can't wait to be a steady presence there. And, you know, it's up to them if they want to continue and continue to play through over the years, or, you know, they want to give it a little shot and migrate into something else. But yeah, loved every single second of it.
Well, if you're the same way as a dad as a coach, those boys, they're gonna have an absolute blast. That's for sure.
You know what, RB, I don't even get. You know what? I shouldn't even say that I get to really play with them because we go out in the yard. You know what? You know what they say to me? Hey, Dad, get in goal. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, let me warm up here. Let me pick a couple passes. Dad, get in goal. Dad, get in goal.
I'm
like,
smart.
I know. And Hobie's getting to a point where I'm like, I'm starting. You should hear me out there in the yard. I'm like, Hobie, outside shots now. Like, because he's like cranking, and he's gotten old enough that he shoots pretty hard, and he's a little piece of work though. He's a little piece of work. They're good. They're
a Belial Buchanan boys match up here at some point soon.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, Hobie can throw better behind the back than I can. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's nuts. I'm like, I didn't know how to throw behind the back until I hit the NLL, and you're throwing behind the back at 5, and you know where it's going. Like, this is nuts. He was doing the Josh Byrne between the legs.
As he should. As everyone should.
That's a 4-button combo.
His favorite chaos player, is that what you're saying? Is his favorite chaos player, Josh Byrne?
Yeah, he says – he told me because he scored on me a couple times. He said that Blaze was better than me. You're not as good as Blaze. Oh, man, look what I'm dealing with over here.
Well,
my own kid's chirping me.
That's right. They should.
Yeah. Blaze is better than you.
We'll let you get some rest so that way you can study some game film, be ready to go against Hobie's, short range rockets. So you're ready to go tomorrow when you step into the pipes.
I love it. Yeah, guys, I'm so like I said, I'm loved my journey, and I'm so blessed that you guys were in it. I'm so blessed to be able to get to know you guys, obviously, as individuals and play alongside of you. Yeah, and appreciate you guys having me on and reliving a lot of the memories. It's been a great ride.
It was so much fun to have you as a teammate. We loved having you as a teammate. So we appreciate and wanted to celebrate you.
Rock on.
Congrats, and we will see you at I'm sure youth tournament here soon.
I will. Well, boys, we'll be wearing Trilogy sign.
Love it.
Where you know it. Cool, guys. Take care now.
Thanks, Kevin.
Later.